The American housing market has always been unpredictable, but nothing could have prepared us for what's unfolding in 2026. After years of relentless price surges that made homeownership feel like a distant fantasy for millions, the tables are turning in ways nobody saw coming. Cities that were untouchable just 2 years ago, places where homes sold within hours and bidding wars were the norm, are now watching their property values spiral downward at alarming speed. We're not talking about slight corrections or seasonal dips. These are full-blown crashes reshaping entire metro areas. Interest rates that climbed to punishing heights have finally broken buyer confidence. Overbuilding in once hot markets has flooded neighborhoods with inventory nobody wants. And the economic shifts that everyone assumed would balance out have instead triggered a domino effect, pulling down home prices in markets that were supposed to be bulletproof. Today, we're counting down 13 cities experiencing unexpected home price crashes in 2026. Some of these will shock you because they were the superstars of the last boom. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or just want to understand where the housing market is headed next, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because this breakdown is going to change how you see real estate in America. Let's jump in. Number 13. Spokane, Washington. Spokane flew under the radar for decades, known mostly as the affordable alternative to Seattle. But during the pandemic, it became a magnet for remote workers and families priced out of the coast. Home prices doubled in less than 3 years, turning quiet neighborhoods into competitive battlegrounds. Developers rushed in, confident that demand would never fade. But by 2026, that confidence has shattered. Home prices have dropped nearly 11% in the past year, and inventory is piling up fast. The remote work wave that powered Spokane's rise has reversed course. Companies are calling employees back to the office, and those who relocated for space and savings are quietly returning to larger metros. The buyers who remain are facing a harsh reality. Wages in Spokane never caught up to the inflated prices. Teachers, healthcare workers, and small business owners, the backbone of the local economy, simply can't afford what the market became. Builders who broke ground on hundreds of single-family developments are now sitting on half-sold subdivisions. Homes that were supposed to close in weeks are lingering for months, and sellers who bought at the peak are trapped, unable to offload properties without taking significant losses. Even the natural beauty that made Spokane attractive, the rivers, the trails, the mountain views, can't compete with financial pressure. In 2026, Spokane is learning a hard lesson. A boom built on external migration without local economic support doesn't last. The city isn't collapsing, but the correction is real, and it's painful. Number 12. Naples, Florida. Naples has long been synonymous with wealth, luxury, and retirement dreams. Its Gulf Coast beaches and upscale lifestyle made it a haven for retirees and second-home buyers. During the pandemic, it became even hotter as wealthy Northeasterners fled lockdowns and cold winters. Prices soared to levels that made even longtime residents gasp. But 2026 has brought a reckoning. Home prices have fallen roughly 13%, and the once unstoppable market is sputtering. The problem is multi-layered. First, insurance costs have exploded. Florida's property insurance crisis has hit Naples especially hard, with premiums tripling or even quadrupling. Buyers are walking away from deals the moment they see insurance quotes. Second, climate concerns are no longer abstract. Hurricanes are hitting harder and more frequently, and the psychological toll is real. People who dreamed of retiring in paradise are reconsidering whether that paradise is worth the risk. And third, the investor frenzy that drove prices into the stratosphere has evaporated. Speculative buyers who snapped up condos expecting endless appreciation are now dumping properties at a loss, flooding the market with inventory. Luxury developments that were supposed to redefine Naples are sitting half empty. Golf course communities that once had waitlists are offering incentives. The retiree base that sustained Naples for generations is aging out, and younger buyers aren't rushing in to replace them. In 2026, Naples is a cautionary tale about what happens when a market built on luxury and speculation meets real-world consequences. Number 11. Reno, Nevada. Reno branded itself as the next big thing, a quirky, affordable alternative to the Bay Area with mountain access and no state income tax. Californians flooded in, remote work made location irrelevant, and home prices rocketed upward by over 50% in just a few years. Developers went all in, convinced Reno was the future. But the future arrived differently than expected. By 2026, home prices have dropped about 12%, and the market is unraveling. The California exodus that powered Reno's rise has slowed to a trickle. Remote work policies have tightened, and many who moved to Reno are finding themselves tethered to offices again. The jobs that do exist locally, primarily in hospitality, warehousing, and service industries, don't pay enough to support the inflated home prices. Builders overshot badly. Entire neighborhoods on the outskirts of town stand partially finished, with for-sale signs outnumbering residents. Investors who bought rental properties expecting steady cash flow are getting crushed by vacancies and rising costs. Even Reno's recreational appeal, the skiing, hiking, and proximity to Tahoe, can't offset financial strain. Younger buyers, the demographic Reno was counting on, are stretched too thin. Student loans, inflation, and wage stagnation have made homeownership feel impossible, even in a correcting market. Reno's crash is a reminder that being the cheaper alternative only works if people can still afford it. In 2026, that affordability has evaporated, and so has the dream. Number 10. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Coeur d'Alene became a pandemic-era sensation, a lakeside gem that offered natural beauty and escape from urban chaos. Californians and Washingtonians arrived in droves, and home prices more than doubled in less than 3 years. It felt like the boom would never end. But 2026 has delivered a harsh correction. Prices have plummeted nearly 14%, one of the steepest drops in the Mountain West. The out-of-state buyers who drove the frenzy have largely disappeared. Many were retirees or remote workers with disposable income. As remote work policies shift and economic uncertainty grows, that buyer pool has dried up. Meanwhile, locals, the people who actually live and work in Coeur d'Alene, were priced out long ago. Developers built for outsiders, not for the community, and now those homes sit empty. The labor market in Coeur d'Alene can't support the price levels the market reached. Retail workers, teachers, and service employees never had a chance. Builders are stalling projects, and some have quietly filed for bankruptcy. Sellers are slashing prices just to attract any interest, and even then, many properties linger. The lakefront that once symbolized paradise now feels like a monument to speculation gone wrong. Coeur d'Alene's crash is a textbook case of what happens when a small market gets overwhelmed by external demand that vanishes just as quickly as it arrived. Number 9. Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte was supposed to be different. A stable, growing city with a diversified economy, affordable housing, and steady corporate relocations. It checked every box for sustainable growth. But 2026 is telling a different story. Home prices have dropped about 10%, and the cracks are starting to show. The issue is oversupply. Developers, convinced Charlotte's growth was limitless, built tens of thousands of homes and apartments in a short span. The market couldn't absorb it all. Migration has slowed, and the corporate relocations that powered Charlotte's rise have cooled. Banking, the city's economic backbone, is contracting. Layoffs and hiring freezes mean fewer people looking for homes. At the same time, affordability has become a mirage. What was once Charlotte's biggest selling point, reasonable prices compared to the coasts, has eroded. Homes that cost $250,000 in 2019 are now listed at $450,000, and wages haven't kept pace. First-time buyers are being priced out, and investors are retreating. Suburban sprawl that once symbolized opportunity now feels overdone. Subdivisions stretch for miles, but many homes sit unsold. Builders are offering incentives, but buyer confidence is gone. Charlotte's crash is subtle but significant. It's a reminder that even steady markets can tip when supply outpaces demand and affordability disappears. In 2026, Charlotte is recalibrating, and it's going to take time. Number 8. Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City became a darling of the pandemic era, praised for its outdoor lifestyle, tech growth, and family-friendly culture. Prices surged as Californians and remote workers poured in, and developers scrambled to keep up. But by 2026, the bloom is off the rose. Home prices have fallen roughly 11%, and the market is correcting fast. The tech sector that fueled Salt Lake's boom is contracting. Layoffs have rippled through the Silicon Slopes, and many who relocated for tech jobs are now unemployed or underemployed. The high salaries that justified inflated home prices are disappearing. At the same time, affordability has become a crisis. Locals, especially young families and first-time buyers, have been completely shut out. The market built for out-of-state buyers with big paychecks, not for the people who actually call Utah home. Now, those out-of-state buyers are gone, and the locals still can't afford what's left. Builders overextended. Subdivisions on the outskirts of the valley are half-finished, and inventory is stacking up. Sellers are cutting prices, but the demand just isn't there. Even Salt Lake's natural beauty, the mountains, the skiing, the hiking, can't compensate for economic reality. The city is caught in a painful squeeze, too expensive for locals, too uncertain for outsiders. In 2026, Salt Lake City is learning that even the most desirable lifestyle can't sustain a market built on shaky foundations. Number 7, Tacoma, Washington. Tacoma spent years living in Seattle's shadow, dismissed as the gritty, affordable alternative. But during the pandemic, it became a hot commodity. Priced-out Seattleites moved south, remote workers discovered its waterfront charm, and prices skyrocketed. By 2026, that surge has reversed. Home prices have dropped about 12%, and the market is unraveling. The Seattle spillover effect that powered Tacoma's rise has faded. As remote work policies tighten, many buyers need proximity to Seattle again, and Tacoma no longer makes sense. The commute that was irrelevant in 2021 is a deal-breaker in 2026. At the same time, Tacoma's local economy isn't strong enough to sustain the price levels it reached. Jobs are concentrated in logistics and service industries, neither of which pay enough for the current market. Builders bet big on Tacoma's momentum and overdeveloped. New townhomes and condo complexes that were supposed to sell fast are sitting empty. Sellers are panicking, slashing prices to avoid foreclosure or mounting carrying costs. Even Tacoma's revitalized downtown, once a symbol of the city's comeback, feels stalled. Restaurants and shops that opened during the boom are closing. The energy that made Tacoma feel like it was finally arriving has dissipated. In 2026, Tacoma's crash is a reminder that borrowed demand from a neighboring city isn't sustainable. When that demand pulls back, the correction is swift and unforgiving. Number 6, Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral became a speculative playground during the pandemic. Investors snapped up homes, flippers swarmed the market, and prices climbed relentlessly. It was sold as the next Fort Myers, a waterfront paradise with endless potential. But 2026 has shattered that vision. Home prices have collapsed by nearly 15%, one of the worst drops in the state. The speculation that drove Cape Coral's rise has completely reversed. Investors are fleeing, dumping properties at steep discounts just to get out. Many bought at the peak with the expectation of flipping quickly, but the buyers they were counting on never materialized. Insurance has become a nightmare. Premiums have soared, and some homes are essentially uninsurable. Buyers are walking away from deals, and sellers are stuck holding properties they can't afford to keep. Hurricane risk is no longer theoretical. Recent storms have battered the area, and the psychological impact is real. People don't want to sink their life savings into a region where the next storm could wipe them out. Cape Coral's infrastructure has struggled to keep up with growth. Roads are congested, schools are overcrowded, and the charm that attracted people initially has been diluted by overdevelopment. In 2026, Cape Coral is a cautionary tale about speculation, climate risk, and the dangers of building a market on hype rather than fundamentals. The crash is severe, and recovery feels distant. Number 5, Provo, Utah. Provo was the unexpected star of the pandemic boom, a college town that suddenly became a tech hub. The Silicon Slopes expansion reached Provo, and home prices doubled seemingly overnight. It felt like a gold rush. But 2026 has brought a painful correction. Prices have dropped about 13%, and the market is cooling rapidly. The tech jobs that powered Provo's rise have evaporated. Startups that relocated during the boom have shuttered, and larger companies have pulled back. The high-paying jobs that justified Provo's inflated prices are gone. Without them, the market has no foundation. Provo's housing stock was never built for the prices it reached. Most homes are modest, built for families and students, not for six-figure earners. The disconnect between what exists and what the market was charging has finally caught up. Builders who rushed to capitalize on Provo's momentum are now stuck with unsold inventory. Subdivisions on the outskirts of town are ghost-like, with more for-sale signs than occupied homes. Even Provo's college town energy can't sustain the market. Students aren't buying homes, and the families who might have been interested are priced out or gone. In 2026, Provo's crash is a stark reminder that a boom built on a narrow economic base is fragile. When that base crumbles, so does everything built on top of it. Number 4. Bend, Oregon. Bend was the ultimate pandemic escape, a mountain town with world-class outdoor recreation and a laid-back vibe. Remote workers flooded in, vacation home buyers followed, and prices went parabolic. It felt like Bend had arrived. But 2026 has delivered a brutal reality check. Home prices have fallen nearly 14%, and the dream is fading. The remote workers who powered Bend's boom are leaving. As companies mandate returns to the office, many are realizing Bend's isolation is a liability, not an asset. The nearest major city is hours away, and the jobs that exist locally don't pay enough to justify staying. Vacation home buyers are pulling back too. Economic uncertainty and rising costs have made second homes feel like a luxury few can afford. Homes that were supposed to be weekend retreats are being sold off. Builders overdeveloped. Subdivisions that were supposed to blend into Bend's natural beauty now feel like sprawling scars. Inventory is stacking up and sellers are slashing prices just to generate interest. Even Bend's outdoor appeal, the skiing, hiking, and rivers, can't offset financial pressure. The cost of living in Bend has skyrocketed, but wages haven't followed. Locals are being pushed out, and the newcomers who replace them are now leaving too. In 2026, Bend is a case study in what happens when a small town gets overwhelmed by a boom it was never equipped to handle. The crash is real, and the recovery will be slow. Number 3. Austin, Texas. Austin's rise was legendary, and its fall is proving just as dramatic. The city that crowned itself the next Silicon Valley is now facing one of the sharpest corrections in the country. Home prices have dropped about 12%, and the pain is spreading. The tech industry that powered Austin's boom has imploded. Layoffs from Tesla, Oracle, and countless startups have gutted the buyer base. The high earners who drove prices into the stratosphere are gone, and the homes they left behind are sitting empty. Builders went all in on Austin, convinced demand was infinite. Entire neighborhoods on the outskirts were built for tech workers who never arrived. Now those homes are flooding the market, and sellers are competing in a race to the bottom. Even Austin's culture, the music, the food, the energy, can't save the housing market. The cost of living has soared, but wages for most residents haven't kept up. The creative class that gave Austin its soul has been priced out, and the tech crowd that replaced them is leaving. Property taxes have skyrocketed, squeezing homeowners who thought they were getting a deal. Insurance costs are climbing, and the financial strain is forcing people to sell. In 2026, Austin's crash is a painful reminder that hype and momentum aren't enough. Without sustainable fundamentals, even the hottest market can go cold fast. The city is still vibrant, but the housing market is broken and fixing it will take years. Number 2. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix was the crown jewel of the Sun Belt, a city that seemed unstoppable. Population surged, builders couldn't keep up, and prices climbed relentlessly. But 2026 has brought Phoenix to its knees. Home prices have dropped nearly 13%, and the correction is accelerating. The oversupply is staggering. Tens of thousands of homes were built in the past 3 years, far more than the market could absorb. Entire subdivisions in Chandler, Gilbert, and Goodyear sit partially empty. Builders are offering massive incentives, but buyers aren't biting. Migration has slowed dramatically. The Californians and Midwesterners who powered Phoenix's boom have stopped coming. Some are even leaving, unable to handle the brutal summers and rising costs. The job market is weakening. Corporate relocations have stalled, and the service sector jobs that dominate Phoenix don't pay enough to support home ownership. Water scarcity is becoming a real concern. Lake Mead is at historic lows, and buyers are starting to question the long-term viability of living in the desert. Insurance and HOA fees are climbing, eating into homeowners' budgets. What once felt affordable now feels like a trap. In 2026, Phoenix's crash is a reckoning. The city built for endless growth is learning that nothing grows forever. The consequences are severe, and the recovery is uncertain. Number 1. Boise, Idaho. At the top of the list sits Boise, the city that symbolized the pandemic boom more than any other. Home prices more than doubled in less than 3 years, turning a quiet capital into a national sensation. But 2026 has brought Boise crashing back to earth. Prices have plummeted nearly 16%, the steepest drop in the nation. The remote workers who flooded Boise are gone. Companies have called them back, and the migration that powered the boom has completely reversed. The out-of-state buyers with big paychecks have vanished, and locals were priced out long ago. Builders overbuilt catastrophically. Subdivisions across Meridian, Nampa, and Eagle are half empty. Homes that were supposed to sell in days are sitting for months. Sellers are slashing prices, but even that isn't enough. The local economy can't support the price levels Boise reached. Teachers, nurses, and service workers, the people who actually make Boise function, never had a chance at home ownership during the boom. Now, even with prices falling, many still can't afford it. Investor losses are mounting. People who bought at the peak are underwater, and foreclosures are starting to tick up. The dream of flipping homes for quick profit has turned into a financial nightmare. Boise's crash is complete and devastating. It's a reminder that when a small market gets flooded with external demand that suddenly disappears, the collapse is swift and unforgiving. In 2026, Boise is the epicenter of America's housing correction, and the entire country is watching. So there you have it, 13 cities experiencing unexpected home price crashes in 2026. From Spokane to Boise, these markets are learning painful lessons about speculation, oversupply, and the limits of growth. Some will recover, others may struggle for years. But one thing is clear: the housing market that felt unstoppable just a few years ago is now in full retreat. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you're subscribed because we're tracking every shift in the housing market as it happens. Hit that notification bell, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share this with anyone trying to make sense of where real estate is headed next. The crash of 2026 is real, and understanding it could be the key to your next move.